2024 election coverage. A lot is at stake tonight. The results are coming in.
Yeah, so we want to get some more analysis on how voters are making decisions, what they're talking about. Republican and former Nebraska Attorney General John Bruni, Democrat, former Omaha City Council President Ben Gray have been with us all night, giving us their takes. And gentlemen, presidential race, 2nd District in Nebraska, looking pretty important right now, right, John?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, I think for Harris at this point, she needs to run the blue wall. And if she can win Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and win Nebraska too, she has a chance. But everything I'm seeing, that seems quite unlikely. I mean, former President Trump seems to be winning the popular vote, which I think a lot of people would have said was impossible a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I think that's true, and I think Nebraska, like we said before, I think this blue dot might mean a little bit more than we thought, just in terms of the way the race seems to be shaking out right now. I know there's still a number of votes to be counted, but it looks like she's going to have to run the blue wall for sure. Mm-hmm. And it may come close enough to where, she may need the Nebraska vote here.
No doubt about it. And, one of the things I've noticed, Ben, that is really interesting is that tonight seems to be a terrible night to be an incumbent. I'm looking at Deb Fischer, who, in my opinion, has done a heck of a job in the Senate, losing at this point. Now, we don't have the big third counting their votes yet. So we're going to see, I think she'll have a chance to come back. But incumbents across the board, Nebraska legislative incumbents, Carolyn Bosson, Bo Ballard, look to be in real fights. And so it looks like the voters are just kind of angry, and they're taking it out on incumbents, whether it's Vice President Harris, whether it's incumbents in the legislature, whether it's Don Bacon here in Nebraska too. Voters want to throw them all out.
Looks like that way, and it also, just looking at it from the perspective at the local level again too, it looks like, again, that blue wall, but there are a couple of other things locally that I'm thinking about as well, especially in terms of this abortion issue. Mm-hmm. This abortion issue is one that the majority of people seem to want choice, and there continues to be a discussion on the other side about making sure that people, this becomes more of a moral issue. It becomes more of a religious issue, and I think some people are bothered by that. And I think that's reflected in this vote. I think people, more than anything else, want women to have the right to choose.
Well, it's certainly, from a Republican perspective, it certainly juices Democratic turnout.
Yeah.
Right? So when the abortion and Republican perspective thought that 434 might also draw out Republicans, I'm not sure that's the case, at least in Nebraska too, right? But as far as younger women, it definitely draws a Democratic turnout.
Yeah, and that just based on that turnout, and just based on what you see around the country, especially where you have abortion as some issue on the ballot, you're having record turnouts. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the reason for that is people want to have the right to choose. They don't want government in their business, those kinds of things. And so I think it's going to be an interesting night to see not only what happens in Nebraska, but what happens in other states where this abortion issue is on the ballot.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that. What it doesn't square with for me is how Donald Trump can be winning the national popular vote with that, and so Trump's appeal to the electorate has grown dramatically, right? Among blacks, among Latinos, among young people.
That appears to be the case according to the numbers, or at least the way the numbers read right now.
Right. I mean, that's really interesting, and I don't think most of us would have predicted that a couple of years ago, that any Republican candidate, particularly Donald Trump, could win the popular vote. But that seems to be where we're heading. So it's going to be really fascinating to see what comes out with the blue wall. I think we should know later tonight, about Michigan and hopefully Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania, as we know, is clumsy at counting their ballots. And I wish they weren't, so we're probably not going to know for a couple days.
Yeah, they're pretty notorious at that.
Yeah.
We should note, guys, that Trump has 4 paid staff members in Nebraska. Harris has 25 paid staff members. So kind of the resources help tell the story, too.
Hey, gentlemen, want to thank you guys for coming in and for the insight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.